War. What is it good for? The only people that benefit from war are those making the weapons being used, and those in power who use it to consolidate more and more power for their nation. In most cases, war is rather pointless and foolish. Instead of trying to come to a peaceful decision, one or both parties decide that violence is their only option for resolution. They enlist young and impressionable working class people to fight the working class people on the other side, and often innocent people are caught in the crossfire. A perfect example of this concept of war for conquest is the Iraq War that spanned from 2003 to 2011. It was a war that led to the deaths of 500,000 Iraqi men, women, and children, started over false pretenses in regards to weapons of mass destruction that never even existed in Iraq. All of this brings us to the main topic of the video, the 2004 animated film Howl's Moving Castle from Studio Ghibli and director Hayao Miyazaki. Spoilers ahead. Miyazaki was born in Tokyo in 1941 under imperial rule in Japan during World War II. He was only 4 years old when the United States dropped nuclear bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. All of this set him up for his very clear anti-war and pacifist mindset. 3 of his films very clearly show this mindset. Those are Princess Mononoke, Howl's Moving Castle, and The Wind Rises. The titular film in this list is Howl's Moving Castle. It is a direct commentary of the Iraq War and the imperial endeavors of the United States. When Miyazaki was invited to the Academy Awards to receive an Oscar for his critically acclaimed film Spirited Away, he declined. It was later revealed that he said his reason for not attending was he had a great rage about the war, so he felt some hesitation about the award. On the eve of the Iraq War, Miyazaki decided that he wanted to make a film that wouldn't perform well in the United States. The main story of Howl's Moving Castle is one more focused on the romance between the main characters, Sophie and Howl, and their personal struggles with the magic afflictions affecting them. For Howl, it is a contract with the fire demon Calcifer and his transformations into a giant bird monster that he uses to incapacitate the airships in the war. This transformation does incredible damage to him, his sanity, and could even overtake his humanity, keeping him from transforming back into a human. With Sophie, she is cursed by the Witch of the Waste and turned into a 90-year-old woman, which causes her to leave her current life and seek out a cure. She then runs across a scarecrow who helps find the moving castle that Howl lives in. All while in the background, there's a war raging between the two nations over nothing more than a missing prince. Throughout the movie, there's this war looming over our cast of characters. In the very beginning, it is shown through the nationalistic parade that the military is holding in Sophie's town. There's constant military presence all throughout the nation. Every time Howl goes out to fight against the two military forces, they are firebombing towns full of innocent people. These moments are seen as brief clashes between the cast and the looming war until they collide in the final act of the film. At this point, Sophie's peaceful town is firebombed, and Howl has to transform into the monster to save his new family. Knowing that this will eventually overtake Howl and his humanity, Sophie tells Calcifer to move the castle away from the conflict. The final string of events leading to the end being Sophie almost killing Howl by dousing Calcifer in water, breaking the contract between Howl and Calcifer, and then finally curing Sophie's curse. At the end of the movie, it is revealed that the mysterious scarecrow was the missing prince the entire time. He then returns to his kingdom to end the pointless war. I would go further into the plot and the romance between Howl and Sophie, but I want to try and stay on the topic of the war. Connecting back to the beginning of the video, let's talk about the Iraq and Afghanistan wars that inspired this movie in the first place. The Iraq and Afghanistan wars started in response to the tragic attacks on the World Trade Center on 9/11. To say that these wars were a justified response in any way is to justify 500,000 innocent lives lost in the conflicts and the nearly irreparable damage done to the area. The Bush administration gave flimsy evidence of weapons of mass destruction being in possession of Afghanistan and Iraq, and the majority of the nation ate it up and was ready to go to war. After almost 20 years of fighting in Afghanistan and 7 years in Iraq, all that's left is unstable economies and the Afghan government in the hands of Al-Qaeda. There was absolutely no progress. Not for the innocent people in the crossfire, governments, those enlisted to fight for the pointless cause, and the American people who gave up billions of tax dollars to fund the conflict while weapon manufacturers pocketed it all for profit. If you don't want to hear from me, here's an actual soldier who fought in these wars.
To all those serving in the Army, and the Marines, and the Air Force, and the Navy, you have the absolute right to refuse to take part in these criminal wars, and that's a right that all of you should exercise. We've been to Iraq, we've been to Afghanistan, and we know what these wars are really about. We joined the military, and they tell us that our enemies are poor people in caves in Afghanistan, or poor people in the deserts of Iraq. But we've been to those countries, and we know that our enemies are not other poor people abroad. Our enemies are the people that laid us off from our jobs, that denied us health care, that make it impossible to get an education. Our enemies are not in the poorest countries on the planet, but right here in the richest one. They're not going to end the wars, because it's not our government. It's their government. It's the government of the rich. It's the government of Wall Street, of the oil giants, of the defense contractors. It's their government, and the only language that they understand is shutting down business as usual. And that's what we're doing here today, and we're going to continue to do until these wars are over.
The only people that benefit from war are those in power, politically and monetarily. When there's an entire industry for war, capitalism will incentivize Raytheon and Lockheed Martin to lobby Congress to warmongering for the profit. Besides wars of direct defense, there's no war more justified than class war, to seize the means of productions for ourselves, the working class, to create a world that benefits the many over the few. In conclusion, Hayao Miyazaki's masterpiece, Howl's Moving Castle, covers the devastation and pain created by pointless wars and serves as an allegory for the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. We've also talked about the real reasons behind wars, how no war is justified besides class war. At the time of recording, a few weeks ago, I had the wonderful chance to go see Howl's Moving Castle in theaters for the first time ever, the full glory of the Japanese dub. I was only able to do that through Studio Ghibli's Ghibli Fest, where they're showing their catalog of amazing films in select theaters across the world. You can check to see if there's a theater near you showing the final film of the year, Spirited Away, the link in the description. I'm not sponsored in any way, I just want to give everyone watching the chance to have the experience of seeing this masterpiece in theaters. Thank you all for watching. This has been Noah from Commie Space Cowboy. See you next time.